Welcome back, YouTube. So today, we're going to be covering everything at 10.2 for Devastation Evoker, and Blizzard has decided that enough is enough, and they are going to completely take away our need for mastery stacking, and we're going to cover everything, all the changes that they have done. So starting off with their patch notes. So mastery is no longer giving the benefit scalar modifier that it once was. All of our base damage is increased by 8, disintegrate damage by 15, and inherent resistance, which is the magic damage reduction talent, also getting buffed, and attuned to the dream. But the big one here is the fact that mastery is no longer falling off once the target reaches 30%. So we're going to talk about what that means and everything that we need to do to maximize our efficiency and our damage and our playstyle. All right, so as you can see here, inherent resistance is buffed up to 8% now. This is a high number, so I'm just gonna take this most of the time. This leech talent really never does anything for me. And Attune to the Dream, if you really want to take it, you can. But we are now conformed to the Iridescence Enjoyers, so I'm gonna go ahead and take Living Flame damage over this. If you wanted to and you really need to live, then you could take this, but we're gonna get into the talents in just a second here. All right, so before we get into all of that, we are going to cover the tier set real quick. So 2 set, Season 3, while Dragon Rage active, gain Emerald Trance every 6 seconds, increasing your damage on by 5%, stacking up to 5 times. And then when Dragon Rage ends, Emerald Trance persists for 5 seconds per stack and grants you Essence Burst every 5 seconds. So this is going to change not only our build, but our playstyle and the stat stacking that we're going to be doing. All right, so we're going to cover the stat priority. So your number 1 stat, always and forever, is going to be Intellect. After that, you're going to reach 30% versatility. And I've found great success with only just 25% mastery, and the rest I'm just dumping into pure haste, and I'll show you why. Our 3, I would say, main damaging abilities, right? Deep Breath, Fire Breath, Disintegrate. You can, tuck in Eternity Surge if you want to, but if I just hover over this tooltip, okay, with my current stats, it does 143,000 damage and 1.9. Deep Breath, 136. And Fire Breath, 203. Now, if I were to put on a more mastery focused gear set, you'll see I'm doing less damage with Disintegrate, less damage with Deep Breath, less damage with Fire Breath. That's not what we want, right? The amount of return that you get for the stats that you put in from mastery is no longer worth it. So I've gone ahead and just done a 30% haste build that in raw numbers just does more damage. Now, the only thing that I'm really going to be switching out is going to be my second trinket. So if I feel like I'm going to be the target, I don't really trust my healers, I'm going to be taking Battle Master Trinket. But if you feel like, you have a little more survivability, maybe in the comp you're playing, or maybe you just trust your healers, I would just take the Haste Trinket with the proc chance for the primary stat. Now, you could, in a world where you really want to go crazy, play the Unused Trinket, but a little bit less of value overall, I would say, than Battle Master or the Insignia of Alacrity. The reason why Emblem is so good is because it gives raw intellect on the trinket itself, whereas the Insignia gives haste. Now, it's only a small difference. As you can see, if I have the emblem, Disintegrate does 143 and 1.9, but if I have the Alacrity badge, Disintegrate does 135 and 1.8. So it's a little bit, of a give and take here. It's really kind of just preference, but for me, this is going to be really good overall. I mean, we're so squishy even with the changes. We're still not up to par with the rest of, you know, the classes as far as survivability goes. We are definitely the most squishy class in the game. So Battle Master Trinket is just going to get you a ton of value. Also, Spore Cloak got gutted. So it's not, it's only a 37k shield. It's just not worth it anymore. They nerfed it into the ground because it was toxic for sure. So yeah, that's your marker. You want to get 30% verse, at least 20% haste, and I think 25% mastery is just fine. You no longer have to stack mastery to do damage. Now you just stack haste, and you're gonna be just fine. So for gear embellishments, I was actually running in the last season these adaptive arm guards. It grants you versatility or crit when you take damage, and mastery and haste when you're dealing damage. Kind of nice. Just a little bit of a flavor. Like I said, Spore Cloak got gutted, and then I'm using the Infurious Boots of Reprieve. Now you could go precog if you want to. It's up to you. I tend to like to use it more times when I'm fighting like double melee, and maybe I juke a kick, and then I'll get it. You know, it can be nice in certain situations, but it really is preference. And precog is great and everything, but sometimes I don't know, because of the loss of the haste that you once got from it, just doesn't seem that like crazy to me. But it's up to you. Alright, so let's cover the build. So now we are Iridescence Enjoyers with the buff to Disintegrate. We're just doing incredible damage across the board. I still prefer Lay Waste and 1 minute Deep Breath. I have seen people that don't run these talents and they run Iridescence. For me, as Devastation Evoker being so squishy, being 25 yards, and especially like in Shuffle, you know, your kill potential outside of your cooldowns now in Season 3 has gone way up. So having an on-demand stun, your only on-demand stun, is going to be super beneficial for you in my book. So for PvP talents in general, I do like loop, especially into holy priests. I want to loop their Ray of Hope. It's a pretty good kill potential, or kill tool, I should say. Time Stop's gonna get a ton of use this season with all the DHs running around crazy that got hella buffed. Soup Up, still a dead talent. Nullifying Shout, also very good, especially into a lot of stuff that just has instant, on-demand crowd control, like Demon Hunters. Crippling Force actually been decent value into priests. Because a lot of times, like, priests, especially like holy priests, they have so much incredible on-demand top healing from out of nowhere. They just put all that in their teammates, and they just run at your healer to chastise fear them. So, like, slowing them with this is pretty good. I never take Divide and Conquer, not even in 3s, because of how buggy it is. I have been finding a ton of value, actually, with Dreamcatcher to just spam CC. I like this a lot into double casters, or even ferals, because ferals will try to just spam clone you for their Feral Frenzy buff. Druids or Boomies will just clone you. They'll just turret in the middle of the field because they're pretty durable, and they'll just turret, do damage, clone whoever the hell they want to. So, like, if you don't have kick up, you can just spam sleepwalk them. They're gonna be pissed about it. Dreamwalker's Embrace I actually really like into double melee. You know, you take this and you know, grab a teammate, and then you hold the tether. It actually does a lot of damage, and it heals you, so that's very nice. And then I take Scouring Flame into every Druid team, and a lot of times I'm actually pairing Scouring Flame with Obsidian Metal. So let's say I run in and I'm gonna do my burst damage, and this guy, this Druid teammate, he has full hots. I'll just wall, Shattering Star, Scale's Fire Breath, I just purged, you know, 3 hots, and I couldn't get silenced. It'll root you, but it won't silence you, so you can just continue to crank. So that's what I found to be pretty useful. Alright, so let's go over Max Burst Opener. It's going to change a little bit from last season. So you will still start out with Shattering Star, Deep Breath. We're going to Dragon Rage, we'll tip the Scale's Fire Breath, and then we'll cast Eternity Surge, launch the procs. That way we can soak the 2 buffs. And just keep launching. Spend all your essence. When you get to the end, you can launch. Extend it, because the 4 set is going to be that much better. You always want to be casting Disintegrates with an Essence Burst proc, if possible, for the buff. And then just always spend your essence when you get to the bottom, or when you run out, and then repeat the process over again. So the buff I'm talking about is Titanic Wrath. So with Essence Burst, you do more damage. And the reason why you tip the Scale's Fire Breath first is because if you're lucky enough and you get a Burnout proc, you can launch it and you're guaranteed to get Essence Burst. And then you would just Shattering Star, Eternity Surge, and then laser back-to-back Disintegrates. You know, in the past we've done Eternity Surge, tip the Scale's Fire Breath. But if, you know, you say you tip the Scale's Fire Breath and you get no procs, right? Let's say I didn't get one. I'm going to hard cast. God damn it. I'm going to hard cast and hope for a proc. That's how it's going to go. Alright, so let's go over the consistent damage rotation. It's going to be exactly the same as it was last season. You're looking to get Fire Breath out on as many targets as possible, and then you're just fishing for procs. You don't necessarily have to wait for an Essence Burst proc, but Shattering Star, Eternity Surge, and then dump, soak the 2 Iridescence blue buffs with double Disintegrate back to back. You can also try to stack up an Ancient Flame. It's very synergistic with Enkindled. I mean, but other than that, it's just basically the same thing that we've been known, that we've been used to. Fire it out as many targets as possible. Shattering Star. Even I have a red buff too, so I can launch that. And just always prioritizing Disintegrate. If there are any questions, leave it down in the comments below. And I'll see you this season.